Hey, Phil.
Hey, Senda.
You want to do a grab bag?
We're not going to a convention this month.
Nope. But we had really busy weeks, both of us, this last week, and we are going to take it easy tonight.
Oof, you ain't kidding. Oof, those were some rough weeks last week.
Long week.
And welcome to another episode of Panda's Talking Games. I'm one of your super busy hosts, Phil.
And I am your other super busy host, Senda. Oh my gosh. And for tonight's topic, we got a cluster of fun questions from Pterodactyl U. And
that's my favorite dinosaur university.
I know.
Tyrannosaurus Tech being the second one.
Right. So we got a cluster of fun questions from Pterodactyl U, and we thought we would just roll through all of them as a grab bag episode because they're great. So let's go ahead and just dive right into them.
Sure thing. Question 1, how do you balance immersion with mechanics so that encountering a mechanic doesn't feel interruptive?
Yeah. So we actually did talk about this in episode 163, which probably had an amazing title, but I don't remember it.
I'm sure.
It did.
They're pretty witty.
I'm good at titles.
Yeah. But 163 was our talk about immersion and mechanics. And we did. We went really in depth on immersion and stuff there. But because we like to be complete and answer questions here, and because, it was 6 episodes ago, and I don't know, you may or may not remember, probably the number one thing that will help you when it comes to keeping immersion as you encounter mechanics is mechanical mastery.
Yeah. And that's just because the more mastery you have of the actual rules, the more effortless it is to engage them while keeping some level of immersion, because you don't have to think about, okay, how does a swim check work? You're just going, cool, I'm swimming as fast as I can for the shore. And then you just roll your D20 and you're like, I got a 15. And you're like, okay, you barely make it, right? Like you don't have to stop and think about, okay, but how much armor are you wearing? And how heavy is the shield that you're carrying, etc.
Yeah, I think so. Mechanical mastery, or system mastery as we often call it, is definitely going to be that thing, because it's just like you said, if I don't have to dedicate a whole chunk of my brain to recall parts of the rules, then I can keep my immersion and just like, all right, so there's no way to do this 100%, right? So there's no way to be 100% immersed while encountering mechanics, right? But the better you know the mechanics, the less percentage you have to give the mechanic part.
Yes. Now,
that is not just you, the GM. That's the whole table.
Yes, it is.
So the thing is that if you really are a group that really treasures immersion, right? Like immersion is your jam. And for me, we'll talk about that in a second because it's not exactly my jam. But if immersion is your jam, then you really want to actually study a set of rules. Right? Like I often will tell people, like, be polygamers, play lots of games, that kind of thing. But if you are serious about immersion, my advice is find a set of rules and stick with it.
Yeah.
And get really good at them.
At it. Yeah.
There'll be a payoff, right? So the thing is, when you switch games, like, you're never going to have that level of immersion.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing that.
Yeah, you got to play like a couple of sessions before you can even kind of just wrap your brain around how the flow of the game itself goes, right?
Yep.
And you spend.
I'm encountering that right now.
That. Yeah.
Like
I'm
playing Forbidden Lands, and Forbidden Lands is not immersive. It's fun. Everybody's enjoying it, and like we're having a lot of fun with the rules and the game and everything. But there's still a lot of stuff going on. So there's like a lot of rolls and stuff, and it's holding down immersion.
Is it really interesting because the campaign I'm playing right now is When Reshel's Yes, we're playing as a campaign. And that game is literally a series of scenes and there are no dice. So it's like about as light on mechanics as you can really get and still have a game. But the really interesting part about that, having said that, is I still don't think it's a super character immersive game because you swap characters around all the time. Like we all play everybody kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the other part of that, right? Like you kind of need to be in a headspace continuously to get that deeper immersion. So cool. Yeah. And to go along with what we're saying, to aid in that mechanical mastery, cheat sheets and handouts will help.
Anything that can just free up that part of your brain.
Yeah, like if you have to look up a thing, right? If you have to look up a thing in a book, if you have it as a cheat sheet on the table, it takes less effort to look at a table that's on a sheet that's sitting, right in front of you than it is to pick up a book and flip through the table. Right? Any time you have to go to the book, your amount of cognitive effort jumped.
Yes.
Right? Because navigating a book requires a significant cognitive effort to flip through pages and figure out which section you're in and which section do you need to go to. And if you don't know the exact place, then your brain's like, yeah, it's near that picture of the were-tiger, right? Because that's how your brain works, right? So you're like, yeah, where's the were-tiger picture, right? And at this point now, immersion's gone.
Right. Well, and I will even say it's not necessarily just about the cycles that it takes, but it's that it's a different type of processing cognitive load than being immersed is. It's using different brain skills. And so you have to divide your cycles between those things. And once you start devoting all your cycles to figuring out the rules, you have lost all the cycles you were devoting to being immersed.
Yeah. The other thing to tack on to exactly what you were saying, the yes end to that is when you pick up the book, your eyes stop looking at everyone else.
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
Right?
That's
your
real
eyes
good.
shift to the book, and now it is even harder to stay immersed because immersion often is aided by contact with everyone else at the table. And you've just broken that contact because you've put your line of sight into a book. And on top of that, anyone who looks at you, because this is a thing we do as humans, right? When we look at somebody, we actually see what their eyes are looking at.
Right.
Right? So now anyone who also looks at you who's immersed sees your eyes looking down at a book and looks down at the book.
Yeah. So everybody just lost contact with everybody.
Yep. So system mastery is system mastery is our takeaway from this. Learn.
Yeah.
This is one of those rare cases where I will tell you, stick to a game and play it over and over. Normally I'm just no, float on, little butterfly, play many games, pollinate many flowers. But in this case,
play really light games that you can master.
Well, that's the other part, right? So the less system, the faster the mastery. But if you are dedicated to if you are a Pathfinder 2 table and you want high immersion, you get ready to get your masters in Pathfinder.
Right. I mean, I had my masters in first Pathfinder, so I know how much work that takes. Anyway, cool. Let's clip right along to question 2, which is, when are props helpful and when are they not?
Cool. You know what? I have a story about the second one. Why don't you take when props are helpful, and I'll take when they go bad.
Okay, so props are great when you want to use them to create additional immersion because they add a tactile
see how it ties up
visual.
To the other?
Oh, yeah, immersion. Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
But because they add another aspect of immersion, right? Because they can be tactile or visual, or they might even have scent. I know that people will use food and, that kind of
Yeah,
taste.
absolutely.
So you can engage more senses than just the imagination. You want to show something that either you can't describe well or it's hard to describe. So you just put it on the table, cool.
Yeah, if you got some Cthulhu statue looking thing, right? Putting one of those things on the table is always
everybody always
it's cooler than being the Cyclopean, non-Euclidean, whatever.
Well, there's a reason that people buy the gigantic dragon minis, right? They're not really minis anymore because they're 12 inches tall. But when you have a 1-inch minifigure and somebody plunks down a 12-inch dragon in full glory, there's an emotion and a reaction that comes with that because you get some more of the impressiveness of scale and a lot of that stuff that can be difficult to convey just through words. because you have a shared focal point in a different way. Anyway, cool. And then one of the other great things that they are good for is when you want to do something meta level, like put some kind of clue in the prop for the players to find, which means like you're engaging them in a meta way to hopefully increase immersion in a plot way by making them actually do the thing that their characters are doing or find the clue that their characters are finding, right?
Yeah, like they might find bits of a map.
Oh yeah, and then you have to put the map together. I've done that one.
Sure. Like that's a that's a meta thing, right? That's not
classic,
about
though.
Yeah, that's not about characters, that's about players, right?
But
or
it is classic.
Yeah, or like you might have like a letter or something hidden in a chest, or something, or like a scroll tube or whatever, or you might get all wild and get one of those, I forget what they're called, but the things from the Da Vinci Code where like you have to solve the puzzle to open the tube kind of thing. Yeah. So those are,
get those balls and they put gift cards inside of them.
Yeah.
You can't get the
like
gift
along those
card
lines.
out until you like solve the puzzle with the marble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So very meta level, because that's not characters. That's not making rolls for characters. That's putting it on the humans to solve that.
You
problem.
are engaging the player's actual personal stats, not the character stats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. When props go bad, the number one reason props go bad is when they become a distraction at the table.
Yes.
Now, a good prop can become a bad prop if after the first few moments you show it, it becomes a distraction.
Yes.
So there is an argument for how long a prop should remain out, right? Just because you brought a prop doesn't mean it should be on the table the whole time during the game.
Yes.
You might want to show it and then take it away.
Yeah.
And I will give a quick story about that. I was playing in I was running a campaign of Corporation, and one of the players brought an airsoft pistol, unloaded, of course, no ammo, unloaded, brought an airsoft pistol to the game just to kind of like be in character, right? And I didn't have a problem with it. The character was pretty good about it, just kind of put the gun on the table kind of thing. Except that I couldn't leave it alone. I kept picking it up and popping the magazine out and like putting it back in and like, pulling it back and like popping it out. Like I kept like messing with the gun like over and over and over, right? Like I was ejecting it, putting it back in, clicking. And eventually I had to I just handed it to him. I was like, here, you have to put this in your bag. Like, it's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll add one more because I had 3 on here, but I'll add more. The next one is when the prop is potentially unsafe.
Yeah.
I had a player, same player actually, once show up to a game with a knife. And I was like, that is a very awesome fantasy knife that I think should probably just stay home and not,
doesn't need to be at the table.
We were young. I'm not going to, that wasn't a recent one. That was like we were very young.
A long time ago.
Yeah. That was a long, long time ago. The next one is if your prop gets in the way of running the game. So like sometimes if you're like, especially if like the Savage Worlds guys, like if you make a thing that is so big that no one can fit their character sheets on the table.
Right. Then it's getting in the way of actually playing.
Right. Like then it's starting to interfere with the actual play of the game. So that's another point where props are bad. And then the last one is if the prop is either too hard to transport, costs too much, or you're spending more time making props than you are prepping your game. Right.
Which all of those things, that's all on you to determine what is, quote, too much, right?
Yeah. I mean, the transport one is like, look, if you take a bus, if you take a bus or a train to get to your game, like you probably can't carry around a full styrofoam ziggurat.
Right. I mean, but if you're driving, maybe that's fine. But like if you have to bring it on an airplane, maybe that's different, right? Like you have to make that call based on the situation a little bit. In terms of what's too much. And then there's things like, some people take a lot of joy from making the props, like as much as they do from actually prepping the game. So like, if you're still enjoying it, awesome. But if you're like sitting there like, oh God, I have to make this thing, then like, obviously too much.
Or you finish making it and you're like, yes, I made this kick-ass prop. And no, I did not prep any of my session.
Right. Problem.
Then Right, because props are an enhancement to a session. They're not the session themselves.
They're not the session. Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool. And it wouldn't be a grab bag episode if we didn't have a question about bags.
I mean, it could be, but it's pretty cool that we have one.
Question number 3. I think this is kind of pointed towards me, but I kind of feel like you're also able to answer this question now.
I feel like I have feels about it now, too. It's
Yeah.
your fault.
Question number 3. Would you rather have a bag of holding or a very well-designed conventional bag?
Say, for
Now-
example, the Peak design. Just saying.
So we do need to actually we do need to like probably put some things around this, right? So by very well designed conventional bag, I think we'll go with the Peak Design Everyday Backpack.
I agree. It's on
That's
my
a
list.
very well designed bag, right?
Very well designed. I'm totally going to own one someday.
Right. It's not like a JanSport sack, right?
Right,
Like
no.
it's like an actual. All right. So we'll say the Peak Design or possibly a GoRuck GR1 or
No, I want
GR2 or something like
a Peak
okay.
design.
Yeah,
We're going to
Peak
say
design,
it's a Peak
though.
design. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, what wasn't clear in the question was the definition of bag of holding. So we're going to answer this 2 ways. The first one is based in our world, which is we'll answer it literally and refer to it as the bag of holding from ThinkGeek.
Yeah, which is the one that Sneezak has been known to carry around to conventions for long
There are
periods of
actually
time.
2, I think. There's the original bag of holding, and then there's like
Yeah.
a smaller crossbody bag.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that. Would you rather have the ThinkGeek bag of holding, like the one Sneezak has, or would you like to have the Peak Design everyday?
Yeah, I don't even have to think about that one because I've seen what that bag of holding has done to his back, and I have been the idiot who has carried heavy things in crossbody bags. Like, I have a book bag that I was obsessed with as a teenager because it had all of these like paperback-sized pockets all over it. But you know what happens when you carry like 10 books in a crossbody bag? Pain. Pain is what happens.
Yeah.
Pain.
So I'm with you. I would also take the Peak Design. I'll go on a couple points. So one, you've already highlighted that the ThinkGeek
Pain.
bag of holding is a crossbody bag, but there are a couple things about it that even make it troublesome versus other crossbody bags. So
Fair
first
enough.
of all, the strap is relatively thin
Right, it's just,
and it's not padded.
Yeah, it's just a strap. Which
It's
is
just
exactly like my book bag.
Right, it's a webbing strap with
Yeah.
no additional padding, and it's relatively thin. I would wager to say it's about a half inch.
Is it really that small?
Half
That's
inch
tiny.
wide?
It must
No,
be at
I'm sorry,
least an
inch. I'm sorry, full inch wide.
I was like, it must
Inch
be
wide.
at least an inch. It's
no, I'm
an
sorry.
inch to an
I'm-
inch and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, what that means is that if you put your full complement of D&D books into that bag and throw it on your shoulder, it means that the entire weight of that bag is being pressed into a 1-inch thick band
Yeah.
into your shoulder.
Yes.
Right?
Ow.
Super uncomfortable. I would say if you wanted to see like a really good crossbody bag, look at like the Timbuktu bags because those tend to be 2-inch webbing and they also have a padding that goes with it because that's a crossbody bag that's meant to ride on a bike, which means
Right.
it like cinches across your back with like you can cinch it up and tighten it.
Right, and then it has the little strappy bit that holds that in place better.
Oh yeah, you
doesn't
lock
flop
it.
around.
Oh yeah, it has the auxiliary strap which comes
Yep.
around under the other side.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing about the ThinkGeek bag of holding, those bags, both models of the bag of holding, are not weather resistant.
Yeah, they're just cotton,
they're-
right? Just
They're just cotton, which
broadcloth,
means that
canvasy stuff.
rain will come right through it. The Peak Design, on the other hand, is a highly weather resistant. Like this is monsoon level that you can't submerge this bag, but you could get caught out in a serious rainstorm and nothing inside this bag will get wet. It has AquaGuard zippers. It has a twice coated resistant shell, and it is just like. I've been out in the rain with this thing. You bring it inside and the water is beaded on it, and you just take a paper towel and just wipe the outside of it, gone, dry. And everything inside, bone dry. Okay.
Cool.
So that's okay.
The more interesting version of this question.
The more interesting version is now we will pit the Peak Design against the 5th edition bag of holding.
Correct.
By way of the DMG, the 5th edition bag of holding is adventurous gear. It's a wondrous item in the category of items. Item rarity uncommon, weight
15 pounds.
15 pounds. Would you read the description?
Yeah, absolutely. So this bag has an interior space considerably larger than the outside dimensions, roughly 2 feet in diameter at the mouth and 4 feet deep. The bag can hold up to 500 pounds, not exceeding a volume of 64 cubic feet. The bag weighs 15 pounds, regardless of its contents. Retrieving an item from the bag requires an action.
Okay, so the positives are clearly its carrying capacity.
Yes.
The Peak Design Everyday Backpack is a 20-liter backpack that comes nowhere near
64 cubic feet.
I mean,
yeah.
20 liter, but when you blow up the when you open up the top, the roll top a bit, you can get that out to about 30 liter.
Yeah, but,
So 30 liter is nowhere near the capacity of the 64 cubic feet that you could fit in the bag of holding. But
yes,
looking in the DMG, the bag of holding is also a crossbody bag.
I know. Why would they do that?
Which
it weighs
means
15 pounds. Ow.
Exactly.
Pain.
15 pounds
Pain.
just hanging off one shoulder.
Pain. To reiterate, pain.
I don't know why they make it weigh 15 pounds. It's a fucking magical bag. Make it weigh like 3.
A pound. 3.
Right.
Yeah. Well, so here's the other interesting thing about it is that it holds a lot of stuff, but what you can tell by the fact that it requires an action to retrieve an item is that it doesn't have any internal organization, right? You just dumping a bunch of stuff into a 64 cubic foot space.
So yes, then the Peak Design with its removable and configurable Velcro shelves actually has better internal structuring than the bag of holding, which is just a giant hole in which it takes like 6 seconds to find any object in it. Which, granted, for 64 cubic feet, finding something in 6 seconds is
not a big but it's a mechanical way to express the fact that like you have to feel around.
Right. I really think that the problem with this bag is that it's a crossbody bag. If this thing was a backpack where I could distribute that 15 pounds across my back with a chest strap, that kind of thing, I probably would have picked the bag of holding. But if I'm walking through a convention and I've got the D&D bag of holding and I got 15 pounds slung across me diagonally, pulling on one hip, which it will mess up the way I walk, right? 15 pounds.
Yeah.
I'll be messed up by the end of that con.
Oh, yeah.
Like it will not be comfortable. I will have a bruise on my shoulder. I will have hurt my back because I'll be compensating for the weight. No. Give me my everyday. I put it on my back, cinch it, put on my chest strap to hold that thing in place. My arms are free. I can do whatever without the bag flopping around. And if I need it, it's got that really cool system where I can like quickly undo a strap and swing it around in front of me and open it from the side.
I know. So it feels like it would be, maybe it's not a free action, but like it's a movement action instead of an actual
maybe I could
action.
still, right. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So you could like do that and still also attack at the same time.
No, by the way, no other show, no other podcast will you get a breakdown of the bag of holding versus
Peak Design.
Right.
Yes.
I'm just saying, like, if nowhere else will that happen.
Well, I mean, I think it just highlights the level of magic that Peak Design bags are.
Yeah. I think really the takeaway here is that what you really want for 6E is for Peak Design
to make the bag of holding. Yes. Agree. That would be the way to do it.
That would be... Although if Think Geek wanted to get Peak Design to go make a new bag of holding, I would lose my shit.
Right. Well, all they really need to do is put like the little logo metal thing on the front, and because they're just...
But I mean, like,
just a tag.
But Peak Design would be like, okay, we're making an adventurer's bag, right?
And like, we got to make it.
There would be like a video.
It's like expandable in all the ways, so that like it's this tiny little bag, and then you're like, but it holds so much stuff because it expands all the ways.
they'd have you like, they'd have a video of you like, people walking out like in the rocks at like on the beach in Iceland and like, like in the jungles in Thailand. And yeah, like trust me, like you would know it was a bag of holding.
Oh yeah.
All right, anyway. So those are our answers. Thanks again to Pterodactyl U for awesome questions and for giving us a chance to quickly throw together a grab bag episode to hopefully entertain you this evening. And before we close out the show, Senda's going to tell us about another show on the Misdirected Mark Network.
Boy, am I. She's a Super Geek is an actual play RPG highlighting women as GMs. Join me and Andy every other Tuesday for lots of different RPGs and guests from across the internet and the world.
Oh, I think something's wrong with that copy.
What?
Let me try.
Oh.
She's a Super Geek is an Emmy-nominated actual play RPG podcast highlighting women as
enough.
GMs. Join Senda and Andy every other Tuesday for lots of different RPGs and guests.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
Okay, I added it to the blurb list. I fixed it.
Say, Senda, where can people reach us on the internet?
Hang on, I lost the notes. Okay. You can find us on Twitter at Pandas Talk Games. You can reach us on Facebook at facebook.com/Pandas Talk Games. You can find us in the Misdirected Mark forums, forums.misdirectedmark.com, or navigate there from misdirectedmark.com. And every episode actually gets its own cool little post in our category and stuff. So if you want to comment on things, that is another great place to do it. And if you don't like any of those options, you can always drop us an email, panda@misdirectedmark.com. And Phil, once they find us in one of those places or sign up for that cool forum account, because it is the 90s once again, what can they do with that information?
Like Pterodactyl U did for us today, leave us some topics. They can be long topics, they can be short topics, they can be funny. Don't worry about it. We'll figure out how to get it into a show and and make a show out of it. Sometimes we do a grab bag, sometimes we do a deep dive. You don't know. I don't know. We'll find out each week what happens. But in either case, topics are our bread and butter. We really try very hard not to come up with our own topics, but to really talk about the things that you want us to talk about. So you keep sending them, we'll keep doing them. Yep. And if you like what we do here on the Misdirected Mark Network or elsewhere on the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, you can support our Patreon campaign. You go to patreon.com/MMP. Patrons get all sorts of awesome things. Access to our Slack room for life. Come play Minecraft with us. Get the bonus outtakes from this show. The after show from Misdirected Mark. And you can get all sorts of goodies from Engine Encoded, those guys.
All the things, those publishing companies you run.
We are apt to send things to our patrons because we love them so much. We also like to do shout outs to the patrons, but in being quick tonight we send our love to all of our patrons.
Yeah, thank you so much, all of you, every single one. Phil is doing heart hands because he just hearts that much.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Say, Senda, there's something that you heart that much as well. If besides supporting the Patreon campaign, what is that thing that you love oh so much?
I love it when we get reviews on Apple Podcasts or the podcatcher of your choice because it makes me feel giddy, like a little panda. And also it helps new people find the show, which is fantastic in and of its own right. But, artistic validation is a thing. And if you leave it somewhere that's not the US iTunes store, you should let me know because otherwise they're really hard to find. They're just all over the place, you guys. Save us from ourselves. Anyway, Phil, tell me what prop you are going to use next. This show is a joint production of She's a Super Geek and Misdirected Mark Productions, the media arm of Encoded Designs.
Show me what you got, eh? Show me what you got. Show me what you got, eh? Show me what you got. Show me what you got, eh? Show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Bloopky.
Clicky.
Oh, I had a burp immediately after counting in.
Oh boy.
I didn't drink anything fizzy.
Professional.
Ooh, this is another one. Don't shake your head at me. Bloop.
So, we talked about this before we started recording, that we've been on a 90s kick as we've been preparing Ditch Lily stuff. Much Ditch Lily music. So I think we should just tell people this. If you are on Spotify, you should tweet Senda, and she'll give you the link to her Ditch Lilies mix.
Mine is nowhere near as completed as yours is right now, I think.
I don't know, but still, if you're on Spotify, Senda will give you a link to her Ditch Lilies mix. And if you're on Google Play Music, and you hit me up on Twitter, I will give you the link to my playlist, which I spent like a little time on Friday curating from a whole bunch of bands, and it's still growing because people in the chat room, on the Slack room, are giving me various ideas, and they're like, do you have so-and-so? Do you have so-and-so? And then I'm like just putting people in kind of thing.
That's why like my Spotify needs to grow in that way. So I guess the best thing would be for people to listen to it and then tell me who else I'm missing.
Right.
I mean, know lots of, I can think of a couple off the top of my head that I know aren't in there yet, but like should just make other people tell me.
I mean, but we got onto the topic of talking about favorite 90s teen romance movies.
Oh yeah, we did.
Because we each have a different one, and I don't want to talk about plots or anything because people either have or haven't seen it, and we don't want to spoil anything.
Sure.
But comparing notes,
yes.
What is your favorite one, and kind of just like why without too much spoiler?
So my favorite one is 10 Things I Hate About You, and why is it my favorite one? It's cute and quirky and funny, and she's like the odd girl out, which I had a lot of empathetic feels about at that age.
Fair.
Right? I was like, oh, that's me. And then I was like, oh, look, she's in love and he loves her. Like, I too have a chance at happiness. Bloop. Is that too vague? Should I be less vague?
I don't know. I'm just looking at the cover right now.
10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah,
it's cute. I mean, it's also, I can also just say this straight up. It's because it's like, this is part of the shtick, right? It is because in the 90s, they kept modernizing Shakespeare. It was a thing that they kept doing, right? There was the Romeo and Juliet and blah, 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 blah. But, so it is a completely rewritten, but we stole the plot from Taming of the Shrew, high school romantic comedy. Yes.
Yeah, so you got Heath Ledger.
Oh, yeah. That is, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Heath Ledger, very good. And Julia Stiles.
I know, and I was absolutely, it's really funny we're having this conversation. Because I'm like, I kind of wanted to be her.
You can see that.
Well, it's that weird, like, do I want to be you, or do I have a crush on you, or do I just want to be your bestest friend? I can't really tell.
Bestest friend stalk you forever.
And I haven't watched that movie in probably 15 years now, and I have the urge to watch it again.
Yeah. I think we're gonna trade up.
We should have like a watch party. We should have a Misdirected Mark watch party.
Right.
Like one. We'll do it over the course of like 2 months. 1 month we'll watch 10 Things I Hate About You, and the other month we will watch
Can't Hardly Wait.
There you go.
Bloop. This is probably my favorite. Of the 90s teen romance movies. This is Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ethan Embry. Really, though, as a minor character, but who steals the day is Seth Green as Kenny Fisher. There's just I can't even go on about how, like, I think this movie would have been pretty good without Seth Green, and then it like rockets up to amazing with Seth Green's performance. There isn't a movie that I don't like. Seth Green is like bacon, right? Like
yeah, I mean,
like things are good without bacon, but like when you put bacon on it, it's like
better.
Even better. That's my feeling about Seth Green. Like Buffy was good,
and then there was Seth Green,
and then you add Seth Green, and it was even better.
It was because there was drama.
Yeah, well, and he's just like, I don't know, he really brings something
sweet and adorable, and also a werewolf.
The Italian Job, right? Like he's the Napster in the Italian Job. Oh my God! Tell me you've never seen the Italian Job. As the needle skips across the record.
I just heard it go.
What? Have you never seen the Italian Job? No. Now, when I say that, I'm talking about
You mean the new one, right?
The new one, yes. But
I mean, I know that there are two because Eddie Hazard talks about them.
Right, but have you never seen? Whoa. Okay. Duly noted. Next time we're at a con, I'm bringing the Italian Job. Bloop. Holy shit. It's one of the greatest heist movies. And it's even better because Seth Green. Okay.
Great. Fair enough. We should start the show, though.
We do. But all right. So teen 90s watch parties, 2 in the list. 10 Things I Hate About You and Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah, I really do think we should do this. Yeah.
If you are familiar with either or both movies, give us a shout out to your feels about either one of those, or tell us your 90s favorite teen movie that you love so very much. But in the meantime, we must get on with the show.
On with the show.
Bloop. Meow. Meow. Bloop. Cue music. Boom, boom.
You said that he sent a funny.
Do.
No one else gets the hand gestures, but I appreciate them.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
37 minutes.
I know, we killed that one.
We crushed it.
I know.
Good job. For a grab bag, I'm actually okay if we want to end early. I also have to go Southtowns tomorrow for work, so.
Yeah, you got to be up early and going strong.
Yes. So, do we say goodbye?
Yeah, we can say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Stop.